A tense standoff is unfolding off the Caribbean coast as the United States has dispatched a substantial naval task force, comprising guided missile destroyers, an amphibious assault ship, a guided missile cruiser, and a nuclear-powered submarine, into the waters near Venezuela in what Washington calls an intensified counter-narcotics operation. The U.S. government accuses Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro of leading a criminal drug enterprise known as the Cartel de los Soles, designated as a terrorist organization by Trump's administration, and has slapped a $50 million reward on his head. U.S. officials maintain that this military buildup aims to curb the flow of drugs into American communities by deterring powerful Latin American cartels. In response, the Venezuelan government has launched a robust defensive mobilization. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez announced the deployment of 15,000 armed forces personnel to patrol both land and sea, with operations focused on the Colombian border and other territorial waters. The Venezuelan Navy has introduced new maritime patrols and drone units as part of this escalation. President Maduro, seizing the moment to rally national unity, has also called for militia recruitment and noted that Venezuela remains clean of coca cultivation and cocaine production, in contrast to its neighbor Colombia. Maduro's tone has been defiant and confident. He insisted there was no way U.S. forces could invade Venezuela, framing the military buildup as propaganda aimed at justifying potential intervention. He asserted his nation's readiness to defend its sovereignty and thanked Colombian President Gustavo Petro for dispatching an additional 25,000 troops to the shared border, marking a deepening bilateral cooperation in the face of mounting pressure. For many regional observers, both national and international, this has the makings of a performance of power more than an imminent military action. Analysts argue that while the U.S. force is undeniably significant, the logistical hurdles of mounting a full-scale invasion of Venezuela, a country characterized by mountainous terrain and sprawling urban centers, make such a scenario highly unlikely. Experts suggest that the operation is designed to apply psychological pressure, perhaps encouraging splits within Maduro's inner circle. Former diplomats like James Story and Latin America specialists have echoed skepticism that the U.S. possesses both the intent and infrastructure needed for regime change, suggesting a focus on deterrence and political posturing instead. On the streets of Caracas, life continues with an uneasy normality. Many Venezuelans appear unconvinced of a full-scale U.S. invasion, hoping for a diplomatic resolution and expressing concern over potential chaos that such a conflict could ignite. The cruise missile-capable vessels and amphibious ships in the U.S. fleet offer a range of strategic options, raising speculation about targeted or snatch-and-grab operations rather than a conventional invasion. Analysts stress the risks associated with such show-of-force operations, cautioning that even symbolic gestures carry potential for miscalculation and escalation. Allies and neighbors are watching closely. While Colombia's initial support for the U.S. stance appears tempered, leaders like Petro have emphasized regional cooperation on anti-drug efforts rather than confrontation. Neighboring countries such as Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago have publicly endorsed the U.S. deployment, citing Venezuela's history of military provocations and narcotics trafficking concerns. At its core, this complex confrontation highlights an intersection of power projection, narco-politics, and geopolitical brinkmanship. U.S. officials insist the escalation is about combating drug-related threats, while Maduro frames it as an assault on Venezuela's sovereignty. With each side entrenched, the situation remains fraught with tension, ideological, militaristic, and symbolic. For now, what plays out in the southern Caribbean is as much about messages as messages of force. Whether this moment becomes a turning point or a temporary episode in an ongoing standoff will depend on the response from regional governments, the endurance of Maduro's regime, and the degree to which pressure yields real policy shifts, or further polarization.